I'm from the farm country in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Went off to high school in Washington because my father was ill. And in the library, I found Aviation Week magazine, which I devoured. It was my popular mechanics. And so I was just always interested in airplanes. Got out of high school, went to work for the Air Force. I went to Sampson, New York, to basic training. They said you could qualify for the aviation cadet program that said I had astigmatism and I could only be a navigator.
He went off to Kelly Air Force Base as a navigator, a second lieutenant, flying C-54s. And over the course of 3 years, he accumulated like 3,000 flying hours, which is quite a bit. He wanted to get out, and then he was convinced to stay in, and he went to Gardena Air Base, Okinawa. They didn't know what they were going to do with him. It was another navigator. So they said, here's a list of organizations. Go ahead and find yourself a job. So he walked across the ramp, and he found the 322nd Troop Carrier Squadron Medium Special. And so he went in there. It was a holdover from the Korean War. They did special operations business there. He finds during daily operations, there's 2 pilots that are working in a back room, and he started planning their missions, and they would fly around the region with specific times to land, specific times to take off, and then they would taxi around. They may pick up somebody in the back of the airplane or drop somebody off. Very, very, what he called it was James Bondish. They took the airplane and flew in Tibet and did airdrops of munitions and arms and supplies to the Tibetan guerrillas. So that was the beginning of his special operations career right there, was in 1957.
When I think of people who have been foundational to the success and the growth of Special Operations Command, Colonel Ropka is the guy. Quiet, unassuming, constantly thinking, engaging, understands foreign internal defense, understands covert and clandestine operations, understands risk and trust and courage, and he understands it because he's done it all. But then he's also transcended just individual input, and he's devoted his life to building the institution that continues to give America options to deal with some of our greatest challenges.
Back home in 1968, very happy, brand new boat, water skiing with the kids. I get a call saying, they're cutting orders for you to come to Washington. And I said, what? Broke my heart, but I went. And the Special Plans Office and the Air Staff, and had one room for special operations with 4 four-door cabinets full of documentation, probably all there was in the world on special operations, dating back to the earliest possible days. Special ops was nobody knew what it was. It was in turmoil between the services.
So he went up to the Pentagon, and he worked in the plan shop, special operations side of the house for General James Allen. One day, General Allen comes up to him and says, hey, Larry, I need you to go to this meeting with General Blackburn. General Blackburn worked for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs in the special operations activities. So they went to the meeting with General Blackburn, and he said, we need to do something about the POW situation. The intelligence community has determined that they can find where certain collections, certain POW camps were, and they're going to give you the brief, and then I want you to figure out if we can help them, then how we can help them. And then he went to work as a planner on the Sante raid.
General Blackburn said, you're here to find a way to get some of them out. I'll give you everything that you need in the Department of Defense or in this country. Come back Monday and tell me how to get started.
the mountain's pretty tall. Come up 077 right now.
The night of the raid, I was at Udorn in the command center.
Negative items so far. Understand, negative items, roger.
I heard the call come in, no items.
This is Blue Boy. Negative items, all buildings have been searched. Negative items, negative items.
Items was our code word for prisoners.
Understand, negative items, roger out, stand by to withdraw normally.
It remains the most stunning thing in my professional life. It was horrible.
Larry never forgot that trust that was given to him and the whole team for Sante. Everything that he learned prepared him for the next operation that he was going to do. And then that knowledge and experience, good and bad, success and failure, prepared him for the next operation, for the next, and then for the next. I guess an easier way to put it would be, when the spotlight of history shines on you, are you ready? And he was ready, because each one of those assignments prepared him and helped build something better for our country.
The raid stands to this day as a very important special operation. But more than that, all of the prisoners were brought into Hanoi. And to this day, when we have reunions and such, they almost get tears in their eyes when they express their appreciation for the raid.
During Larry's career, he had quite a few overseas assignments, from northern Japan down to Okinawa. He spent a lot of time in Laos, Thailand, trying to assist those countries in that dire time. I mean, we look at it from now, but back then, Southeast Asia was at war, and all different types of war. And Larry was involved in working with the United States and working with the countries and the groups that were favorable to the United States to get people trained to fly airplanes to support themselves as the U.S. was withdrawing air power from the region. After Saigon fell, Larry came back. He worked another couple of years in the foreign military sales, and by 1979, he retired out of the Air Force as a colonel. He and his wife were building a house by 1986 or so, and he gets a phone call from his old friend, Rich Armitage, who is now the Assistant Secretary of Defense for International and Security Affairs up in the Pentagon. Congress and people within the military struggling to how do we get our hands around properly using our special operations community. One of the plans put forward was a separate agency with underneath the Secretary of Defense, but apart from the chairman and the Joint Chiefs of Staffs and the services, essentially. And they wanted to have its own budget, and they wanted to have a civilian head of it. And that was kind of an anathema to the administration, the Reagan administration. So Larry's job was to help negotiate that. And there was a political firestorm to get this done, and both sides back and forth. And Larry was kind of thrust in the middle of it. And he was not looked at favorably because he was doing his job the best he could to keep the balance based on who he worked for, the president ultimately, and Congress. And so they were able to negotiate, collaborate, coordinate the compromise position, which was what was put out there in the Nunn-Cohen Amendment to the Goldwater-Nichols Act. They proceeded forward with implementing the legislation as best they could, and it took time. I mean, you're creating a brand new command, but the person actually continuing to do the work was Armitage Office, Larry, and his team.
Culturally, I think he really is one of our founding fathers, if you will. The attitude that he comes up with, the very concept of being a MacGyver, which is something that's very, I think that's a characteristic of special operations in general, but he understood that there were asymmetric ways to approach problems. And he was a person who was, quite frankly, going about putting these things in action. And of course, he was connected to some great leaders as well, who definitely enabled him and gave him runway to move out on a lot of the initiatives that ended up really becoming the foundation of special operations.
I had a providential career that led me from job to job, each job building a base for the next one. And that this little kid from this little town could wind up doing what I was led to do later on in the later years is uncommon. And I am very blessed.